Unfortunately, we won't have an FNCS this season, but my prediction is that we will see Savage join XSET. We've just had a huge FNCS announcement. We now know more about the mid-season LAN, there's new ways to qualify to globals, but there's no FNCS for this season. I also want to talk about all the tournaments from the last week, as well as the EU Pro that managed to earn in every single one, and later on I'll discuss MrSavage and which new org he might be joining. Let's get straight into it. So whilst the FNCS announcement has led to some big changes, a lot of it has honestly stayed the same. I personally really enjoyed the FNCS format last year with the 3 majors that led to globals. I felt like the qualifying system worked quite well with the play-in and then heats and then LCQ. All of that is here to stay. The announcement also answered the question of whether divisional cups would be returning. At one point in time it looked like they wouldn't be coming back for 2026, however we now know that they are going to return. We have 4 divisional cups in February to look forward to, and that is really the main set lobby tournament between now and the next FNCS, which is all the way in April. Unfortunately, we won't have an FNCS this season, and listen, I am disappointed about that. In the context of all the other announcements, it's not the end of the world because yes, there is a lot of good news. The reason why I wish we did have an FNCS this season is because the meta is so balanced. It's a really good season. The items feel great, the shotgun and ARs are good, the wingsuit is a really nice balanced mobility item that isn't too strong but isn't too weak, and I'd love to see an FNCS with this meta. It feels like a real wasted opportunity to be missing this season out entirely. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, a lack of set lobby tournaments makes it hard to build narratives ahead of FNCS. We're looking at a situation where for the next month and a half we're not really going to have set lobby tournaments, and then we'll have some in February, and then FNCS is all the way near the end of April. So it's a slow start to the year, there's no denying it. But at least we do have the solo series finals and we do have some divisional cups. I'm hoping some more get put in for March as well. I haven't been able to confirm if that's the case yet, so it's not the end of the world. And listen, the fact that FNCS has been pushed back to April is actually a good thing because it means all the other tournaments have been pushed back too. Globals now takes place in November instead of September. Now I think this is a great change because when you have globals in September and then all of a sudden you still have like 3 or 4 months left of the year, it can get quite boring. The off season can feel quite long, so I feel like putting globals near the end of the year is going to keep the esport way more exciting, keep it way fresher. So that's an exciting change in my book. Now let's get into the really exciting things that Epic have added, the main one being the Major 1 Summit. Now this is the FNCS mid-season LAN that was announced at the last globals. We've been wondering for a while what it's going to look like, and now we do have some clarity. Teams will qualify through this through Major 1. The top 20 duos on Europe will qualify, the top 13 on NA Central, the top 3 on NA West, Asia, Oceania and Middle East, and the top 5 on Brazil. I mentioned earlier that Epic have changed the way that teams qualify for globals. Major 1 will actually have no qualifying spots. Instead, these spots have been put into the Major 1 Summit, with the top 5 placing duos in that event qualifying to globals. This now means that there's way more spots to qualify in Majors 2 and 3. As you can see, we've got 17 teams qualifying out of EU, 11 teams qualifying out of Central, 3 teams for all the small regions and 5 for Brazil. Now look, I'm really excited for this mid-season LAN. I feel like we're going to see a lot of first-time LAN qualifiers because obviously all the players that qualify are just from the one tournament, so it's basically just going to be who's doing well at that exact moment in time in that exact meta, so it could be very interesting. I will also say that I feel like with these changes, Epic are deliberately trying to reduce the amount of spots that smaller regions get at globals. Obviously they're giving out global spots to the top 5 teams at the Major 1 Summit. You'd imagine those teams are going to be from EU and NA Central, so we'll probably see less representation from the smaller regions on the global stage. So in summary, the FNCS announcement was good. We've got a whole new LAN event that we didn't have last year. The scheduling makes a lot more sense. I'm very happy. I do wish we had an FNCS this year, but listen, it's going to be a slow start to the year, but we're going to have a big finish in return. Now let's talk about the tournaments from this week. We're going to start by going back to Sunday when we had the first round of the solo series qualifiers. Now if you watched the previous solo series back in Chapter 6 Season 4, you'll know that the format has changed. There were 6 weeks of qualifiers and your best 4 weeks were taken and the top 100 players qualified to finals. That's a little bit different now. Now we've only got 4 rounds of qualifiers, and your best week, only your best week, is taken as your score, and the top 400 players qualify to the semi-finals before they get whittled down to the 100 players in the grand finals. Listen, I've got mixed thoughts on this new format, but overall I think I quite like it, and that's because it's a lot easier to track. Now when you've got scores being combined over 4 weeks, it's quite hard to know who's in range, who's not in range. It's hard to make narratives about comebacks. Whereas when it's just the 1 week that matters, you can do terribly for 3 weeks and then have a great performance in the final round and qualify. That's way more exciting from a viewer perspective. My only complaint is that I wish we didn't have the semi-finals round. If it was just the top 100 players that made it through to grand finals, I feel like there'd be a lot more jeopardy with the qualifying. I feel like the last week, that 4th round, would be a lot more exciting because teams would be scrambling to get into the top 100. Now I feel like we're going to have a lot of teams make top 400. It probably won't be that difficult for the top pros to make it. Yes, the semi-finals will be stacked. Yes, they'll be fun, but I think I'd rather we just had the top 100 and had a little bit more jeopardy with the qualifying. Anyway, enough discussion of the format. Let's talk about which players did well. We had Shark win the first round with 476 points. A great performance by him. Scroll coming in second and Velo coming in third. These are 2 players that consistently place highly on other regions, and as I've been saying in my latest videos, I feel like the players that can do that consistently are the ones to look out for in 2026. The ones that place highly on EU, on NA Central, on Middle East, like Scroll, like Velo, like your Akiras and Karamas and your King Cringes. These are the guys to look out for in 2026 because they're clearly working hard, they're clearly putting the time in, and the results are going to come. The rest of the leaderboard is on the screen. I won't go through every single pro, but you can see that Pixie managed to come 4th. In my latest video, I picked him as the best player of 2025. I went through all the Fortnite competitive awards and gave my take on every single one. Go back and watch that if you're interested, but for now, let's move on to the other regions. On Middle East, the highest placing EU player was Malivsky, who came 11th, and on NA Central we had an EU pro win the whole tournament, and that was of course Karama, who was excellent in the previous solo series on NA Central. This guy is so consistent at placing on high ping. I feel like I talk about this in literally every single video. I'll put a tweet up on screen now of me saying how good a solo player I think he is. I'm out of words to describe him. First place on NA Central is incredibly impressive, literally beating out every single player on the region. Crazy stuff. Let's move on over to Monday when we have the Duo Victory Cup. On EU, we had 2 teams manage to win twice. One of them was Burke and Lyrics, credit to them. The other team involved Koropiku, a player who has previously been banned for allegedly cheating. So I'm not sure how legitimate these 2 wins are, but if they are legitimate, then fair play, I guess. We also had Vico and Malabuka drop a 28 kill win in finals. That's pretty uncommon in the Victory Cup format. I feel like players are just playing for placement because they know that the kills don't matter. So to drop a 28 kill win, very impressive stuff. On Middle East, we had a bunch of European pros win games, the most notable teams being King, Cringe and Velo, Cringe and Volko, and Darkos and Minori. On NA Central, we saw EU pros teaming up with NA players. Scroll won a game with Backtalk, whilst Lixium won a game with Somerset. Some other notable teams to earn were Gordetti and Nako, the Spanish trio, and King, Cringe and Twy. We also had an EU team earn on Brazil. Cade and Zynox managed to win a game. On Tuesday, we had the Reload Cup, and we had 4 teams on EU win 2 games. They were Syned and Kenty, Power and Jax, the up-and-coming Slovenian duo. We also then had Kemrop and Snailix win 2 games, as did Kebab91 and Lin. With those last 2 duos, I don't really know much about them, to be honest with you, so fair play to them. Over on Middle East, we had Prism and Casper win a game, and on NA Central, Demus and Hari managed to win. Now on Wednesday, there was another Duo Victory Cup, and we saw 4 European teams win 2 games. They were Dom and Demus. More on Demus later because he had a great week. Vanya and Murstache also managed to win 2 games, as did Robin and Prax, as did Axel and Jidan, an Italian duo that I don't really know much about. Definitely seems like a theme in this video, but there's a lot of up-and-coming duos that right now there aren't a lot of information on. As per usual, we had a bunch of EU pros on the other regions. On Middle East, we had Cringe and Velo, Moneymaker and Fanayan, and Ivan, Jake and Radion all win games. Over on NA Central, we saw some of the biggest names that earned were Malabuka and Panzer, Demus and Hari, and Roban and Della. One other interesting point from this tournament was that we saw Vico and Pink reunite, but not on EU unfortunately. They only played Brazil together and they weren't able to win a game. Pink is still looking for a duo. He's not had the easiest time as of late. It's crazy to think that it was only about 3 months ago that he was going to play with Shark, and now he doesn't even have an option. He has been playing with Venno in recent tournaments for fun. I did think that him and Opal might have a bit of potential, but they have now split, and we'll have to see who Pink picks up in the future. Now I want to talk about MrSavage's new org, but before then, let's talk about the last tournament of the video, which was yesterday's Eval Cup. We had 4 teams earn on EU, and there definitely weren't any surprises. Shark and Teeny won the game. They have already proven themselves as one of the top duos on the region, and I do think that they'll challenge for an FNCS in 2026. We also saw Dom and Demus win a game. I mentioned that I'd come back to Demus later in the video, and that's because he's earned in 4 consecutive victory cups across different regions as well. He's had a really impressive week. The interesting question with Demus is who is his optimal teammate. Currently he's playing with Dom, however we have seen he's playing a few tournaments with Hari over this week and earned money. Is Demus and Hari a better duo than Cammy and Hari? That's a debate for another day because I don't have the answer for you right now, but it's certainly an interesting question. Anyway, Dom and Demus is a very good team. I'm fully expecting to see them at the Major 1 Summit, and maybe this can be the year they challenge for a major win. To nobody's shock, Akira and Karama also won a game. They really are making the most of these Victory Cup formats, earning in practically every single one. We then also saw Howley and Dandapuzo win a game. They're a team that have been doing well in the Victory Cup formats, haven't really been converting their performances into wins as of late. They've had a lot of seconds, a lot of thirds and fourth, but they managed to get a win in this tournament. Also a shout out to Yarko and Kier, the Spanish duo, who managed to come 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 6th in this tournament, but unfortunately couldn't quite get the win. And over on NA Central, we did have an EU team win a game, and that was of course Demus and Hari. What a week it has been for those two. Now before I end the video, I did promise I'd talk about MrSavage, so let's do that now. He is still currently playing with Tayson. I do expect them to split at some point in the near future, but that hasn't happened quite yet. In terms of their results, they haven't been the greatest. They didn't qualify for finals in either the Eval Cup or Wednesday's Duo Victory Cup, and they didn't even bother playing the Reloads Cup. So they haven't really achieved too much yet. They are still sticking though, and listen, maybe they could be good. It's certainly an interesting dynamic. They are incredibly fluid, especially in the end games, both of them leading at different points, both of them making calls. Definitely something that we're not too used to seeing with a lot of the top duos. Generally you have one player that leads and one player that follows. That's definitely not the case with Savage and Tayson. But let's discuss the big MrSavage news that came out yesterday, which is that based on his tweet, it looks like he'll be signing for a new org. For me, I feel like this is between 2 organisations. The first option being Power. We know that Savage is good friends with Lachlan. Savage obviously also content focused, would be an incredible pickup for Power, so I could see that happening. The other I do think is the most likely option, and this is my prediction, is Xset. He's been teasing the prospect of joining Xset for a while now. I feel like it makes sense for him to link up with Clix. We also do know that Xset are willing to pick up EU pros. They did allegedly offer a contract to Fredoxy, who did decline it, but it would now make sense for them to pick up Savage. We'll have to see which org he joins. If indeed he does join a new org, this might be an announcement for something completely different, but my prediction is that we will see Savage join Xset. I'll be replying to every single comment on this video. Let me know what you thought about the FNCS announcement. Did it excite you? Were you a little disappointed by it? Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think MrSavage's new org's going to be? Is it going to be Xset? Is it going to be Power? Or maybe something different? Thank you very much for watching the video. See you in the next one.